I guess it's time to do another video. Last weekend, of course, was the No Kings marches from all over the country, or even all over the world. And estimates ran from 8 million to 9 million. And here locally, I went to 2 of them because I had somebody come out to do yard work for this place, and I wasn't sure of the time that they would be here. And so I went ahead to the Ashland No Kings. It was earlier in the day, last Saturday, and there was about 1,000 people there. And when I got back and I took my brother downtown and came back, that's when the landscape outfit, the lawn, whatever they're called, the yard work people, they came out, and it was about an hour that they took on it. And so by the time they got done, the No Kings in Medford was underway. They had just started it, so I went down to that one and took some pictures. And estimates were upwards of 10,000 were there. They lined Biddle Road from McAndrews, and it was really quite an impressive display, because Medford, Oregon is very red. Oh Christ, it's one of the reddest areas in the United States. And these right-wingers that live here, they really think everybody thinks like they do. They think everybody is just like them, you know, because they were raised on racism, they were raised on sexism, and there's a lot of these evangelical types here, and they, you know, they just have this really stupid outlook, but they think everybody's like them. So anytime that they mention any local media mentions anything on Facebook or any of those websites about any criticism of Trump, any public criticism, they always put in the little laughing emojis, like ha ha ha, and they're so fucking stupid. And especially white males, they're incredibly stupid. And I just saw a video. Of course, he's like all the other Christian Reconstructionists, that Dale Partridge, and he's another idiot that's out of Arizona, like the late Charlie Kirk, and that Steve Anderson, but this guy is the Doug Wilson type of idiot. But he was yammering about we need to get rid of the 19th Amendment and all this shit. They can't get rid of it. The only way you can get rid of it is through another constitutional amendment. We have the prohibition and the repeal as a guide. And the long shot other way would be to have a constitutional convention, and that's not going to happen, even though there's only like there has, over the years, there's been attempts to try to have states call for a constitutional convention, and it's never materialized. That's the only way they could possibly ever do it. But of course, the SAVE Act, which will never be law. Anyway, that was an end run around women's suffrage, because women tend to vote Democratic a lot more than men. And if these dudes like Partridge and that idiot Joel Webbin and Doug Wilson and all those other fucktards, if women voted the way they like to vote, these dudes like to vote, if they voted Republican, most of them, they wouldn't bitch about it. But they're bitching because women tend to vote Democratic, because they're not politically stupid like men are. At least white males. Not all men, but certainly the white males. The majority of them are idiots. But speaking of idiots, I listened to that Trump speech the other night where he was talking about the Iraq War, and it was the same old stream of consciousness horse shit, and he's worse and worse. He's getting worse and worse by the day. As of today, he's turned up missing because of the latest catastrophe in Iran, and he's, so everybody's wondering where the hell he is. Rumors are swirling that he's at Walter Reed Hospital, that there's, traffic's been blocked around the hospital and all that kind of stuff. But, when he gave that speech, I was thinking he does not have CVI, that venal insufficiency. I don't think he has that. That's what his doctors were claiming, and why he has a lot of the damn things he has. I think he has congestive heart failure. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one, but I had 2 dogs that had heart issues, and eventually they had to be put to sleep because of heart issues, and they had congestive heart failure. And one of the highlights of that is that shortness of breath, and CVI can also cause that. But I'm telling you, he was a lot worse with his speech. And again, it wasn't even the idiot content of it, if you could make heads or tails out of it. It was the fact he was gasping for air. He looked like he was going to fall down. He wasn't turning blue. That's the only thing. Of course, how could anything turn blue with all that makeup he's got on? That Agent Orange spray or whatever the hell he uses. But it just was so clear to me that he's got something a hell of a lot more serious than CVI. And so I say congestive heart failure. I thought he really needed oxygen to even be able to do it. But anyway, as of today, they'll probably find him somewhere, but he's hiding out somewhere, or he might be in the hospital again. So, who knows? People are spreading all kinds of rumors. But the last thing I ever want to happen to him is him dropping dead, because Vance is 1,000 times worse than Trump. 1,000 times worse. He's Peter Thiel's bitch, and that's reason enough to be terrified of that guy. And I noticed, Pam Bondi was out. She was kicked to the curb. Like Kristi Noem was kicked to the curb. And isn't it interesting? It's women. Now, we're both incompetent as shit, which has nothing to do with being women. But notice they're picking the women to throw out and then replace them with white dudes. They'll likely get white dudes in there. Gee, why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Because women can't lead. They're stupid. Adam and Eve, that myth, that folktale. And it was all women's fault. The man was too idiotic to see what was going on. He was stupid. But, that was all a myth. Never happened. But here you got millions of people who believe women can't lead or shouldn't lead, including that idiot Hegseth, who has absolutely no business being the Secretary of War. I keep thinking of Duck Soup and the Secretary of War. But it used to be called that years ago, the Secretary of Defense. We'll just call it what the proper name. But, it's a real, it just makes you mad every damn day, because an outrage is hitting and another outrage. And here I point to this thing where the Trump administration is trying to use family planning program away from contraception towards conception. Yeah, this is the right-wing Catholics in the Heritage Foundation that are trying to pull this goddamn shit and thinking, we'll use natural family planning and abstinence. Natural family planning is a nice little euphemism for what used to be called derisively the rhythm method. That's the only thing that traditionally the Catholic Church supported for birth control. And these idiots are trying to push women into using the rhythm method, which doesn't work. And all I'm going to say is this is going to force more and more women just to say, screw guys, forget it. And claiming that they're over-prescribed. This birth control pill has been around for 65 years. And they're bitching about it. These idiots are bitching about it. But they want to force that white birth rate up. So anyway, this is a Title X family planning program. Changes that previously led to an exodus of reproductive health providers and a steep drop in the number of patients served. Hours after the White House released a budget to propose a wholesale elimination of the program, the DHS quietly posted a new guidance for clinics around the country to provide birth control and other sexual health services for millions of, it's always the goddamn poor, low-income people. Several changes could take effect when the clinics reapply for funding. And it says here, the nearly 70-page document included no mention of contraception other than the assertion that it is overprescribed because it's an abortifacient. Don't you know? Has negative side effects and is part of a broader over-reliance on pharmaceutical and surgical treatments. This is all right-wing Catholic bullshit. The guidance instead promotes natural family planning methods, such as period tracking apps and other forms of fertility awareness. Yeah, it's a rhythm method. That's what that is. Of course they have higher failure rates. They always did. And, nice to keep rewording it that's natural family planning and fertility awareness. They're bullshit. It's rhythm method, and it doesn't work. But anyway, as soon as a Democrat gets in there, they'll change it again. But anyway, it's, blackmail that they're trying there. Participating clinics are currently in their last year of a 5-year grant that was awarded based on criteria created by the Biden administration. But those that don't align with the Trump administration's new vision could have difficulty securing more funding next year. But, of course, the Democrats most likely will take hold of Congress. But Trump or whoever will still be in charge, or whoever is actually running them will be in charge. So it's gonna be rough until 2029 at the earliest. But anyway, I don't know if I have anything here. Yeah, this Partridge critter, he's another idiot. And that's where they found it on Blue Sky. I can put the link there. And he has a wife and 4 kids. And the wife is a Latina. So you go figure on that one. But yeah, here it is. This is what I want. Yeah, the critics scold Trump for staying mum on search for missing U.S. airmen in Iran. And, of course, I'm thinking the one who's MIA is Trump. But anyway, on this rambling note, I think that's going to be it for me today.